I wanted to share an experience that I had in life that was very scary and happened within the last year, and it was very unfortunate, but somehow also lucky in a way. So it's a very serious conversation. Just wanted to give you a heads up. It might be a very difficult, sensitive topic, but I talked to my wife about it. We had a conversation about whether or not we should talk about it, and the consensus was that it is something that we can talk about. It's something that we probably should talk about because not enough people talk about it, and I think more attention needs to be had about ectopic pregnancies and the fact that people who go through ectopic pregnancies there's not enough support for these people. So around a year ago, my wife and I were talking about having kids, and she was tested negative for pregnancy. We took multiple pregnancy tests and she was negative, and she even had her period. So when I woke up that one day, I don't think I was working. Kind of lucky that I wasn't working. But she woke me up and she said she was in a lot of pain, and she actually, one of the first things she said was, "I think I'm having an ectopic." And I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. We've been testing negative, and I mean, we didn't test for the last like 8 weeks, but she had a negative pregnancy test before, and she had a period, which is why we didn't think that it was possible. Well, as it turns out, she went to the emergency room. She was positive for pregnancy. Her HCG was high, which is the level that tells you that you're pregnant. And they couldn't identify whether it was an ectopic. So she went home. We went to the ED a couple other times after that because she was still having pain, and she went to see an OB. And then after a while, about a few days later, it was discovered after a more sophisticated ultrasound that she was having an ectopic, and they rushed her to the OR. She survived, but it was a very scary situation, and I wanted to share that with you all because it's something that scared me as well. And as the male partner, having to work, I'm a physician myself, and I'm going to work, and I'm busy doing things outside of my family life, where it's hard to kind of compartmentalize my personal and work life. Like there's, you try to have a work-life balance, but I was worried sick about my wife the entire time I was working. And I think that it's important for us to have this dialogue, this conversation about ectopics. So I'm gonna pull up some data. This was wrong screen. That was my kitty clinical screen here. I'm using let me just make this a little bit bigger. Okay, so this is an article from PubMed, and I'm gonna put a link down in the description about it. It was published in 2023, and it's an overview of ectopic pregnancy and just some rough statistics here. So it's the leading cause of maternal mortality in the first trimester. That means women who are in the first 3 months of pregnancy, the leading cause of death is ectopic pregnancies. And if you don't know what an ectopic pregnancy is, it's where you are pregnant, however, the fetus is implanted somewhere outside of the uterus. It's not a normal pregnancy. The pregnancy is happening in an unusual part of the anatomy of the human body. Let's just put it that way for those who are trying to understand this. And the incidence, which means the rate, right, of pregnancy, the rate of ectopic pregnancies is 5 to 10% of all pregnancy-related deaths. And yeah, I mean, the next sentence here is so critical, that the diagnosis of ectopic pregnancies is difficult due to clinical mimics and non-specific symptoms of abdominal pain and vaginal bleeding. Mimicry meaning that, you know, it can present as something else, that you might misdiagnose it. You might, like, doctors might think it's one thing, but it's actually another. And you know, one of the things that they did for my wife was they tested this HCG, which I alluded to earlier in the video. This number should go higher and higher and higher. You test this serially. Serial means not the food, but like routinely, like at an interval level. You do it again and again, right? And every time you check it, like each day by day, it should get higher and higher. But for my wife, it was going higher and higher, and then it just kind of stopped and slowed down. And that's when it gets a little scary. That tells me that there's something more than just a pregnancy, that the fetus is not going to be viable, right? So, I mean, I can go through this entire article, but that's pretty much it. There's a rate of 9 to 14% and an incidence of 5 to 10% of all pregnancy-related deaths. So 5 to 10% of pregnancy-related deaths is ectopics, and you know, it's roughly a 9 to 14% rate, which we talked about. I'm not going to go over the science behind pregnancy. Just understand that this does happen to people, and when it does happen, it's very scary. It's unlucky, but it does happen. And so I was one of the unlucky, we were one of the unlucky ones, right? But my wife survived. And it was because we had such great patient care. We had a really strong OB department who was able to help out. So, yeah, I mean, that was it was really scary, and I mean, I just wanted to show this this data here. I'll post a link in the description so that you can read it on your own leisure, but it's just a very scary situation. And to this day, I have nightmares about what could have happened, because from my understanding, she was in a lot of pain, and then the pain stopped. But what happened was that there was a clot stopping the bleed. And that clot was keeping her alive the entire time. So it was just the thought of it, you know, makes me really uncomfortable. And it wasn't one of the reasons why I stopped making YouTube videos. I stopped making YouTube videos a long time ago. But this was definitely something that really hit the nail in the coffin as far as my activity on the internet and social media. I got rid of Facebook a long time ago, and I don't really share much of my personal life. I do feel a lot more comfortable talking about these things under the anonymity of this cat avatar. But it was very scary, and there are support groups out there. If you're watching this and you had an ectopic, or had a similar experience, you can send me a comment or message me. I'd be more than happy to talk about more about what I went through, and kind of what was going on in my mind. But I really needed to see someone to talk about it. And we've been talking about support groups and all that. So there are support groups out there. I believe RAIN is one of them. What we'll do is we'll put it in the description of the video so that you have a better sense of where to go and what to do, who you can talk to. But I just wanted to put that out there because it was a very scary situation, and it's kind of the big elephant in the room in my life, and what's kind of been impacting my behaviors. I mean, it was a very scary situation, but I'm just happy that she is safe and healthy and recovered, because it could have easily gone the other way. And it's hard to talk about, but I thought I'd share it with you all because I think it's important to talk about. So that's it for now. If you have any questions, you can leave a comment down below. I'm more than happy to share more about my life, my experiences. As I said before, I'm a physician, and so I have some knowledge on some of these things. But it's funny because you study it in medical school. You read about it in textbooks, and you kind of intellectualize these things, right? You think of it as a theory, but when it actually happens, it's scary. Oh, it's so scary. And I think when I was in medical school, reading and studying all these diseases, nobody ever tells you about the real human aspect of these diseases and the phenomenons that happen, because we're just studying and we're just so focused on passing the next exam and getting through the next semester or the next rotation, and even seeing patients in your clinical rotations. It's not you're not the patient. You're the observer, and when it finally happens to you, it's scary. And having gone through that really traumatic experience has given me a different perspective of medicine in general, and has made me more cognizant of the social aspect of medical science and human nature. So anyway, that's all I have for you folks. I hope you take it to heart what I say in this video. I will put out more content in the future, and see you all later. Thanks again.